Mark Pearse, who I worked out I've known for 40 years. How about that? It's not that we've been in each other's orbit for all that 40 years, but certainly as a Christian brother. I connected with him late in high school, soon after he became a Christian. But he's a man who I know has been very thoughtful about prayer over the years. And so I thought we'd, as part of this series of interviews, we'd talk to him a bit about praying. And the first question I've got, Mark, is what have been some of the barriers for prayer for you over the years?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I feel like and very much an ongoing question as well. And I think when I think about this, my experience has been and continues to be at different times that I really want to pray. Like I feel like it's I enjoy Jesus, and coming to him is a place where I can do that. I feel like I've experienced at times the sense of the Father's welcome and hearing the almost the whisper of the Spirit. And so there's a real sense in which I want more of that and more of God, and I want to come. But I also had this very real, tangible, visceral experience of when I go to pray very regularly. It's actually quite hard to even get there. And so for me, mornings are a good time. So I get up in the morning and I make a cuppa, and then I can get distracted by something in the paper, or there's a magazine, or there's this thing out here, or there's whatever it is, or there's something comes up on my feed and you look at it, and then the time's almost gone, or it's very very short, or then I actually get to it, and then when I get to it, it's like, so what am I going to do now? And
right,
the time isn't that good, or and I think also other times I think there's it's almost like I find the distractions happen in that place, or So I often read my scriptures first. I find prayer springs well out of that.
Yep.
But besides, when I actually want to kind of be still and be quiet and focus, it's like I just got to, and it's like, then I'll be quiet, and I want to, and it's this, I don't know, like it's this thing where I go, I so want it, but there's something inside of me that doesn't want it, and I think. Partly,
there's lots of people nodding about that, Mark.
Exactly.
I was reading Psalm 131 the other day, where someone says, "I have quieted my soul," and that kind of challenge to do that in the busyness of life, and just the sense of distraction. What have you found some of the helpful things over the years? I'm sure it's varied at different stages of life, but some of the helpful things that you could share about getting down to praying. To be consistent in prayer. What are some of the things you found?
So I'm getting some kind of structure and rhythm is actually really helpful for me. So for me, mornings are best. With family and all the stuff and work and the things that happen, I find during the day and evenings don't work for me. For some people it might, but for me, mornings getting that first time, and so. A phrase that's really is helpful in my mind is kind of prayer starts the night before. And so if I go to bed really late and I've only got 5-6 hours sleep in me on a regular basis, then trying to pray and focus, like forget it. Like it's, I can go through emotion and that's helpful. I think, when I first came to faith, somebody gave me structures, talk with acts, adoration, confession, thanksgiving, supplication, and that's all helpful. But I find I don't know if it's the engineer or Enneagram 3 or the ENTJ or whatever the kind of your thing is. I find I can turn things into tick boxes, and I can try, and it becomes a legalistic structure, and it really becomes unhelpful. And I think for me, one of the things I look at is my time being, is it relational or not? And I think that almost that relational lens is actually a really helpful kind of lens to look at. And so practical things like having I do my time in the same chair, in the same place where it's quiet, where there's minimum distractions. Generally, I try not to do it on a device. So sometimes I just use a physical Bible, and I think journaling with paper and pen really helps to kind of stay focused. Other times that's not so much an issue. I put my device onto flight mode and go on with that. But I think that relational kind of lens for me is actually really helpful, because I feel like it's, at the end of my time, and not necessarily just on a daily basis, but like over a week and 2 and 3, is the relationship warm, or have I actually reduced it to going, this is what I ought to do?
Yeah.
And so doing that tick box kind of thing. And if it's doing that, then I think it's not actually what it's on about. So I think getting some kind of structure and rhythm, and I think also just for me, structure is not just looking at a daily thing. I think daily's really helpful, but there's times I just can't get to it. There's also, at the moment, I'm actually trying to go not just a morning thing, but I actually stop and take time, for about 5-6 minutes in the middle of the day when I stop for lunch, to actually just put things aside and to stop and picking up what you were saying, that kind of being still. And I think almost for me, I think there's that prayer on the go where I think the Holy Spirit does whisper to us, but I feel like I'm more aware of being able to hear that when I've actually been still in the morning, and where I actually try and actually still and go, what are you doing? What are you up to, God? A couple of times during the day. And then I feel like, work is pretty full on, and family life is very full on. So I find even putting into a weekly rhythm a bit more time Saturday mornings, when people tend to sleep in a bit more, that gives me space, and Sunday mornings are times where I can actually be still. And I think, probably over the last, probably since about March, I think for the last 2 years or 3 years in my journal, I've regularly said, I feel like I need to be still more. I feel like I need to understand how I do this, and just not done it. And so somebody recommended to me a book by Ruth Haley Barton on called Invitation to Solitude and Silence. And she's a very high capacity and achievement oriented person, and just talked about her struggle in dealing into that. And it really resonated with me, and just gave really simple kind of a small chapter, and then some practical kind of things to actually do that. So I feel like I've been pressing into that space a bit more. Right. And that's been really, because sheep hear his voice. Yeah, and I find that's been really, really helpful.
Just thinking, there's some aspect of our prayers, particularly asking our Father for things, that I suppose you call it a work aspect to our prayer. God does his work through our prayers. You got any thoughts or encouragements about, say, what we might call intercessory prayer? There might be people you prayed for a long time, or praying for situations. Is there a way that you kind of give some shape to that as you pray?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think there's prayers which I find I want to pray because they're my family, or they're my friends, or it's my situation, and I think it's great. I feel like it's great. I can go to my Father and pray and keep praying for that. But I think one of the things I feel like I'm learning is as I'm being a little more still, is to actually go, so God, what are you up to? What are you doing in this situation? And I don't know, I feel like, I don't know, I'm thick as how many bricks, but it's just like, we pray, not our will, but, your will, and your kingdom come, and your will be done. But I feel like a lot of my prayers have been, this is what I want to happen. This is the outcome I want to see. So actually just going, so what are you up to in this moment with this person that I'm praying for? And so, because I used to find I'm praying the same prayer, and nothing's happening. And that's okay. And there's times to do that. And I think there's times to keep praying for that. But it's also, I found it helpful to actually to be stopping and going, so what are you doing? How do I pray?
Yeah.
With that?
I resonated too with what you said earlier about the scriptures shaping our prayers as well. That's I suppose a version of it as we read the scriptures about God and who He is and what He's doing. To bring that into our praying for people, I think I find that helpful. I think that was a good insight.
Yes.
Well, Mark, thanks so much for your time sharing with us. That's very encouraging and helpful. God bless. See you.
Hey, if I had one other thing,
Sure.
just that came to mind as we're talking, I go, I think doing this prayer thing with somebody else.
Yes.
One, to actually pray, but even just to go, I find this difficult. And I think one of the things that's really been helpful for me has actually been going, so I've made more time, but I'm still too tired. I'm getting distracted. And actually just having someone to talk with, not to be necessarily accountable to, and did you pray, but just going, this is how it's going or it's not going. Yeah. I found that super helpful. Anyway.
We certainly need each other, don't we, in this? So
yeah, absolutely.
And you've been very encouraging and helpful, as we've heard you speak about. So thanks, mate. See you later.
Great to talk. Great.